Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be reviewing the action that was midweek. Liverpool, big winners. Arsenal, big winners. Chelsea also coming up with a win in the midweek fixtures. And we'll also be looking ahead to the weekend's action. Big Manchester Derby will be coming up on Sunday. And we also have a top four dogfight. Aston Villa takes on Nottingham Forest. Now, joining me this evening to review these matches and to talk some EPL football, we have returning to the podcast, Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, indeed, Christoph, we were blessed with some exciting football action midweek. Tuesday, Wednesday, and even Thursday, we had EPL football coming at us. Let's look back at what was Arsenal, Christoph, coming up with a win. But at what expense? Arsenal seem not to be able to get a break, Christoph. Getting the win, welcoming back Saka, but also seeing the departure of Gabriel, and he looks to be out for the remainder of the season. Oh, what was your take on that game versus Fulham?
Um, for the most part, Arsenal did well to overcome Fulham. I thought they defended well. Well, they defended in numbers. They basically got everybody back when they were defending, to be honest. But they found a way. Uh, I don't know. You could say a lucky goal from Marino, but then a good, well worked goal from Saka after coming on. And then Fulham getting, a cancellation, in my opinion. I
I
don't,
mean, Fulham did miss a glorious opportunity earlier before that goal as well. I mean, Arsenal could consider themselves lucky, in all honesty, to come
yeah,
away with
but
all
but
3 points.
Arsenal was also missing their first choice, centre back. So,
Well, again, parts and parcels of the game, Christoph.
all
That's a
right,
consideration we have to look at. We have to now start questioning the Arsenal medical team. What is going on over there at Arsenal?
I
Why are
don't
so many players getting injured?
I don't think this is a matter for the medical team, so to speak, as the medical team does a good job getting players back
So is it a case
fit.
where Arteta is overplaying the
Def
players?
that is definitely what I think is happening. A lot of these players are overplayed, a lot of minutes. Gabriel was I think Gabriel was one of those players who did play for Brazil on the international break. So it's not like he really got a break. So these players are overplayed. And we've seen it this season. All Arsenal missing, Kai Havertz out for the remainder of the season, overplayed. We've seen Odegaard miss a lot of the season, 3 months of the season. Um, Injured on international duty, of course. Saka we've seen overplayed basically, and he was out for what, 3, 4 months just returning. So
But I
there's
mean,
a lot
wouldn't
of
wouldn't the
overplay.
medical team be advising the manager?
Yeah,
Or
the medical team can advise the manager, hey, we don't think this player should play, but I mean, it's not like the medical team can stop him from playing a player.
so you're saying it's down to poor management then? Poor rotation of the squad or poor utilization of the various players within the squad itself?
Yeah, definitely poor rotation on the part of Arsenal, and with the squad already being thin from the beginning of the season, then on top of it, you're just not rotating well. So,
So it's quite possible then that poor management has cost Arsenal the season, at least in the EPL.
uh, not poor management. I mean, because some of these injuries, while three of these injuries, we could say Saka, Gabriel, Havertz were overplayed, too many games, too many minutes kind of caused their injuries. A lot
Right.
of other players were injured, you could say randomly. You know, Odegaard, Gabriel Jesus getting injured just as he was hitting top form. Um, so it's a lot of unfortunate things happening at the same time. Y- There was definitely some mismanagement here and there. Again, the mismanagement of probably Havertz and Saka, mainly because players like Gabriel and Saliba did get some rotation throughout the season, but Saka, when fit, did not see any rotation. 3-0 up, not getting subbed. nothing like that. So, definitely poor in those parts. It's definitely a case of Saka has made himself very indispensable, and we kind of see that even for England. England struggles without Saka as well. So,
Well, I mean, England is now under a new manager. It could be that struggle could have been down to the manager. Southgate playing a more defensive style of play when he have attacking talents at his disposal, and pretty much Saka was bombarded with carrying the team offensively, but was also expected to track back and put in some stern defensive work. Tuchel might give him a bit more freedom in terms of playing his football, but that's a conversation for another time, Christoph. Arsenal coming away with a 2-1 win, and Saka making his return was the man who got that second goal, which gave Arsenal some breathing room. And then as Fulham stormed back, getting a goal at the end, but it could have been different had they taken earlier opportunities. But kudos to Arsenal, went in the game for the 3 points, got the 3 points, and of course was hoping that Liverpool would make a slip, but it was not to be in that Merseyside derby. Liverpool getting a 1-0 win over Everton. Christoph, talk to us about that game. A big controversy in that one as well. There was that massive tackle in the first half on McAllister by Tarkowski. Many are saying that should have been a red card. What says you? What's your take on that tackle in particular?
uh,
Well, since you're thinking, let me give you my take. My take
sure.
is the game has gone soft. That's a clean tackle. That shouldn't even have been a foul, in my opinion. The game has gone soft.
Um, in a way, I agree. I agree that football has definitely gone soft, but again, we kind of say that the refereeing quality has been so poor for the last couple of seasons. You have to ask if it's very hard to say, you know. I mean,
No, what's
I
your take? I mean, you saw the tackle, you saw the game.
I don't think it was a foul.
My
I
point exactly.
I don't think it was
All
a foul.
ball and the follow through caught the player.
Right.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
clean, to me, it's a clean tackle.
I've
Clean
seen a
tackle.
lot.
I mean,
I have seen a lot of those given this season. To be honest, players winning the ball and then the follow through, catching the player, and then they give it as a foul. And I don't think those are fouls.
well,
If you touch the
even in
ball
this tackle in
first,
particular, it's not as if the ball grazed Tarkowski. It
mhm,
was a full-on clearance. He caught the ball flush and then followed through on the player. To
right.
me, play on. Play on is my call. But as I said, the game has gone soft. I mean, in this instance, the referee gave a foul, gave Tarkowski a yellow, and many were calling for a red card, but it was not to be. So that was a big controversial moment in that game. Everton defended stoutly, but it was that man Jata who came up with a brilliant piece of work. But even that goal, Christoph, was marred in controversy as well. Many are saying in the build-up, Diaz was offside. What's your take on that situation? Was it an offside or was the goal legit?
Diaz was definitely offside. But the question is, how much did he interfere with play? In my opinion,
Well,
I'm not
I can speak to you from a defender's point of view.
right.
If a player is standing in an offside position, which you're not 100% sure, you are going to make an attempt to intercept that ball, which is exactly what Tarkowski did. He
Mhm.
made an effort to intercept the pass to Diaz, made the interception. Diaz came back onside thereafter and then made a knockoff to Jota, who went on to score. So to me, he was interfering with play because psychologically, mentally, you're as a defender, you're going to make that attempt to intercept that ball that was being played to Diaz when he was in that offside position.
Uh, my I,
If
my op- I
but you
don't think
understand
it's
what I'm
offside.
saying though.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I don't think it's offside. I don't think he. when he was in the offside position, he didn't do anything. Right? There
right?
was no movement. There was no attempt to play the ball. There was no he didn't push a defender. He didn't do anything. Right? He just stood in an offside position. Tarakowski attempted to play the ball. I think he fell over or something.
Right.
And
Yeah, in
then
stretching to
Diaz
make the
right.
interception.
And Diaz moved back onside, then played the ball. I don't think that is offside. It's
Mm,
like say you're playing two center forwards, right? And one center forward stands in an outside position and one stands onside. You play the ball over to the top. Everybody puts up their hand for offside, but it's the
right.
onside man that runs
But
onto
that
the
that
ball.
wasn't the case. That's what I'm
No, no,
saying.
but I'm saying if
But
the
in the scenario you're explaining, one of the center forward is clearly offside.
right,
And then the one who is onside runs on. That wasn't the case in
right,
this
right,
event.
right. But
In this event,
he runs
he
on.
was so close to the second to last defender that he possibly could have been onside.
I
Now,
think
as a defender, you have to make an attempt to cut that pass out
I,
because you
I
really don't
I
know
think I
if
think
he's
there was
on or
enough
off.
space. I think there was enough space to fit another player there.
I'm not sure about that. I would have to
In
agree to disagree on that one.
in
But
my
for me,
scenario, if the man who is onside runs on, plays the ball, dribbles, and then crosses or passes to the man who was previously offside, no onside, should it be given as offside?
it should.
It, it should if he crosses over, if he
Yeah,
crosses to the
in that
man.
scenario. But to me, as I said, based on how this one played out in the Liverpool game, it was in close quarters. As a defender, that's what I'm saying. Psychologically, as a defender, you have to make the attempt to cut that ball out because you really don't know if that player is actually in an offside position, which is what Tarkowski did. I gather the error was not making a significant enough clearance, and Diaz was able to get himself back onside, flicked on to Jota, who did, some fancy footwork, beating a couple players, and then slot in past Pickford. But this one surprised me in that Liverpool managed to keep a clean sheet. Uh, but towards again, I was a bit concerned going towards the end of this game. It became a bit erratic. It became a bit frantic from Liverpool at home, and
I think
the game
Liverpool
didn't
were
really
lucky.
end with them in control of the game.
Liverpool won the game, but in my opinion, I think Liverpool were lucky to win because, like we say, a game of what if Everton had scored those early chances that they had gotten, in my
Right.
opinion.
Yeah, especially that one from Beto who hit the upright, in all honesty.
Right.
He should have buried that. That's why I say, it's a game of small margins. And looking ahead in terms of Everton, I mean, for Everton to make the next step forward, they definitely need better quality players. When you look at this Everton team, man for man, Christoph, they should actually be in a relegation fight, in all honesty, when you look at individual players. They should be in a relegation fight, but due to what I would classify as excellent management, they are pretty much safe and looking forward to playing in their new stadium come next season. The bottom three is probably fully decided at this point in time, and it's those three which came up that should also be going back down. But interesting times ahead for sure. Interesting times ahead. But we look forward, Christoph. We move forward, and the games are still coming fairly thick and fast. And it's football, football, football until the end of the season, whether it be EPL, Champions League. It's boiling down to the business end of the season where teams are fighting for trophies. Teams are fighting to finish in the top four or avoid relegation. And we have some massive games coming up on the weekend as well. Now, the first big game on our agenda, Christoph, is you could say a Champions League battle royale. Aston Villa coming off a win versus Brighton versus high flying Nottingham Forest, who took Manchester United to the cleaners, winning that one 1-0 courtesy of a long busting run from former player Ilanga Christoph. And I spoke of this player in our previous show that he could hurt Manchester United, and so said, so done, coming up with a wonderful solo goal there, giving Nottingham Forest a 1-0 win over Manchester United. So this one is a big clash. Aston Villa versus Nottingham Forest. This one coming up on Saturday. How do you see this game playing out, Christoph? This one
Um,
with uh Aston Villa playing this one at home.
um, Even though it's Aston Villa at home, I think this is a tough game and probably a very good game for potentially good game for the neutrals because it could
This should
end
be
up being.
a excellent game for the neutral. This one could have some serious implications for the top four finishes, in all honesty. This is a beautiful mouth-watering clash.
I
But what's
think
your call?
I think Emery will actually play it a bit more cautious, to be honest. Um, but I do think like at home I would give the edge to Aston Villa.
Edge to Aston Villa. To me, I'm gonna back Forest, Christoph. Forest is on such a wonderful run. The wind is in their sails. The momentum is on their side. And it's hard to see any team stopping them just based on the level of confidence that this team is playing with at the moment. So for me, I am gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna call a Nottingham Forest win in this clash with Aston Villa. It should be a tight, exciting game. However, I'm not expecting this one to be a goal fest per se. I expect it to be very tightly contested. Could possibly end in a draw, but I'm just gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna call this one 2 goals to 1 for Nottingham Forest. 2-1 Nottingham Forest. What says you in terms of a predicted scoreline and what could possibly make the difference for you as it relates to Aston Villa coming up with the 3 points in this one?
Um, I just think Aston Villa have more firepower, in my opinion. I feel like the starting lineup that they played against Brighton, it did strike me as a bit strange, you know. So surprised seeing Watkins starting on the bench and Rashford at centre forward. But I'm guessing Unai Emery had his reasons, had a plan. I'm expecting, however, to see Ollie Watkins back at centre forward on the weekend, and then Rashford will move back out to the left in order to use that pace on the counter attack. I mean, Ollie Watkins is also very pacey, but I think the score will be the same as you said, but reverse. You know, Aston Villa will win 2-1.
And that man Asensio, Christoph, he seemed to have the golden touch at the moment, in all honesty. He is one of the red hot farm players in the EPL at the moment. It seems as if everything he touches turns to goal, and he has been on fire since his move Aston Villa. What can we say about Asensio? I mean, one would have thought he had passed his prime, but he seemed to have found a new lease on life since his move to English football.
Um, uh, um, it was quite strange to me how he had, fallen off, prior to when he was in red hot form at Real Madrid. Granted, mainly coming off the bench in a lot of games under Zidane, he did score a lot of goals, and it was a lot of it's a high quality goal, so to speak. So I think it's more a matter of injuries kind of beating him, so to speak.
Well, I mean, in that
Some
same Madrid team, Christoph,
You
we
had
had a number of
Cristiano
players
Ronaldo.
departing from that team. He would have been in the same team with that Isco, who is red hot on form over there at Real Betis. And also, Odegaard would have been in that uh,
Well,
mix as well.
if I think isn't he a bit older now? Odegaard,
Well, he would
Odegaard,
have been a bit older, but they
Odegaard
would have been
was
playing for Madrid at the same period in time.
yeah, but Odegaard was signed and he played for the youth team while training with the senior team, and also Carlo Ancelotti did not want this player at Real Madrid at the time, so there was not really a chance for him.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems players live in Madrid is almost like players live in Manchester United. It seems that when they leave, they go on to do big things elsewhere. And the same thing we're seeing here with players leaving Manchester United as well. When you look at the likes of Sancho, Rashford, we're hearing of Anthony over there at Real Betis. He's tearing up the place, it seems. And these are players who could not perform when at United. And ever since they have made their move, we're seeing these players getting a new lease on life, so to speak. It's almost like they are reborn as footballers and really getting some positive results at their new club now. But
I mean,
Asensio definitely a breath of fresh air in the EPL, and he's
it's
coming up with the
it's
goods.
it's definitely not something new, to be fair, and to be honest, we've seen it ever since and even before, but definitely more prominently ever since Sir Alex retired. We've seen the likes of Di Maria, who was red hot at Real Madrid, come to Manchester United and not and flopping. Um Diego Forlan was during Fergie's
Well, I
time. There
mean,
was
there's a long list.
there's a
We
long
we
list.
may need the whole podcast to go through that
Uh,
list.
uh
Christoph,
Probably
for sure.
the biggest one in recent memories, possibly Alexis Sanchez, who was at the time probably the best player in the league, going over to United and flopping spectacularly.
Well, probably the most excellent example you could have drawn on. Pogba comes to mind as well. So a number of examples. The list is very long and exhaustive in all honesty. So as you say, it's nothing new from United per se. But such are these things. But the next big game, speaking of United, we do have a Manchester derby on our hands, Christoph. Both teams looking and searching for points. In all honesty, Man City versus Manchester United. This one taking place over there at Old Trafford. So this is a Manchester derby coming up on Sunday. How are you seeing this game? Can United find a win and upset the apple cart, or will it be Man City who seem to have picked up a bit of form, getting a win versus Leicester, and will be looking to build on that and trying to maintain their status in the top four? What says you? Can Pep get it, or will it be Amarin?
Um, I, at the beginning of this, at the beginning of the season, I would say Manchester City without a doubt, because for some reason United just always seems to capitulate when they play against Man City, regardless of how good their form is or how bad Man City is or how good or bad anybody is doing. Yeah. We say form goes through the windows in
When
derby
it's a
match.
derby, that's right, that's right.
That's not the case with Manchester United when it comes to Man City. It doesn't matter if they're in good form or not. Um, but on the other hand, Man City has been so horrible ever since drawing with Arsenal at the Etihad, so to speak. That injury to Rodri, they've been poor
I
ever
mean, in the last
since.
couple of games, they have picked up a few wins, to be honest.
No, they have picked up some wins, but they've been overall this season poor.
Yeah, definitely
Ever,
disappointing overall.
ever since that game, they have been poor. For the if we cut out everything before that game and only take everything after that, they've been horrible.
Yeah, they dropped into a
So
rotten stretch, and a rotten farm has followed them throughout the season, really becoming very unpredictable, as you have rightly highlighted.
so
And this is another game which, when you factor everything in, is one which is rather unpredictable at the moment as well.
right. I think this game has the potential to go anywhere, in my opinion. But because it is so Man United is just so unpredictable,
Well, I
right?
mean, their confidence should be rock bottom at this point as well.
I don't know. I do not
Man
know.
U is just not playing well under Amarin, and having gone to Forest and lost that one 1-0. If City can get the first goal, then I really don't see any way back for this team. I think their confidence will be just totally drained. So it may come down to the team that scores first in this game, in all honesty, Christoph. That's my call for this game. Whoever scores first will go on to win. And that being said, I'm gonna back Man City. I just think Man City has that little bit more firepower in their ranks at the moment. That man from Egypt, he is getting the job done in the absence of Haaland. So for that reason, I'm gonna back Man City with getting a win in this game. In addition to that, Man City do have a few players who can find a moment of magic. Doku, Savinho, Foden, Kevin De Bruyne is still around, they may just come up with a moment of magic and find a goal, provide an assist, etc. So for those reasons, that's the reason I'm gonna give Man City the edge in this one, and I am going to go 2-1 in favor of Man City. But what says you? What's your call? That's why we look at these games, Christoph. These are the tough games which many are afraid to call. That's why we are here. Our viewers and subscribers are waiting on our opinions. So, we can't sit on the fence. We have to make the bold calls where the bold calls are needed to be made.
Honestly, I think this is potentially a drawn game, to be honest.
So a score, you're saying a scoring draw.
Yeah, potentially 1-1 draw or 2-2 draw, in my opinion.
Well, I can't disagree with that. That is definitely your opinion. And that is a scoreline which has a possibility of playing out. But again, Man City should be hungry. They have picked up a few wins. They're in the fight for top four. Obviously, they would have given up on the title at this point in time. So the objective have to be to finish in the top four. And the win versus Leicester should give them a bit more momentum going into this game, as opposed to Man United, who can't finish in the top four, can't get relegated, and pretty much just seeing out the fixture. The motivation in that camp should be less when compared to the motivation in the Man City camp, who is fighting for uh top four finish, as opposed to Manchester United, who at this point of the game and at this point in the season has nothing fighting for. They are just looking to see out the fixture. They can't get relegated and they can't finish in the top four. They are stuck in mid-table and just looking to see the fixtures out, in all honesty. So that fight may be missing, that fight may be lacking. And when I see Manchester United in the game versus Forest Christoph being 1-0 down, and who does the coach draw on to try and win it for United? Maguire. You're down 1-0, looking to get a goal, and Maguire is the option coming off the bench. That in itself tells you the situation over there at Manchester United. So, interesting times ahead, for sure. Interesting times ahead. But number of other games, Christoph, number of other games. Just gonna quickly run through these games quickly. So we have Everton versus Arsenal. So Everton at home versus Arsenal. What says you?
I think Arsenal 2-0.
Arsenal 2-0. Definitely hard to disagree with that call. Everton, although they've been doing well, again, as I said, the quality in terms of the personnel is just lacking or missing. So yeah, I would definitely side with Arsenal coming up with a goal or two. But for some reason, Christoph, I just feel the doggedness of this Everton team. If they can hold Liverpool to a 1-0 away from home, I think if they can display similar defensive solidity at home, I feel they can get a point off Arsenal. So for that reason, I'm gonna call this one 1-1, Christoph. Especially with Gabriel being out now. Weak links such as Kivior should be getting the start. And we know Everton is one of those teams which bombards your defense with set plays, corners, free kicks, long throw-ins. I just feel the physicality of this Everton team may yield them a goal or two versus Arsenal. So for me, I'm going to call this one for an Everton draw. Then we have Crystal Palace versus Brighton
Um, at Crystal Palace.
at Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace at home.
I think I'll go with that draw. Scoring draw. 1-1, 2-2. I think.
1-1, 2-2. Ipswich, Christoph, was one of the surprise teams in the last game week. They got a massive win over Bournemouth when we thought Bournemouth was an easy cakewalk. They face Wolves, you could say, a basement battle. So Ipswich versus Wolves. What's your call? Ipswich at home versus Wolves.
Um, uh, Wolves is the better team. Ipswich, has struggled all season. The problem is Wolves has been. I don't know if it's bad luck. Like I thought they were playing well beginning of the season. I think I'll go with a draw game for this one as well.
Draw game for this one. Ipswich versus Wolves to draw. Okay. All right. We then have West Ham versus Bournemouth. West Ham at home coming off a loss versus Wolves, and Bournemouth coming off a loss versus Ipswich. So this should be a very interesting game. Both teams coming off defeats. West Ham at home versus Bournemouth. What's your call?
I think Bournemouth bounce back with a win in this one. I don't think West Ham have the firepower really to kind of get one over them. Um, you have to feel that Bournemouth losing was potentially just a fluke, in my opinion.
Potentially a fluke, indeed. Potentially, that man Clive Hurt, who has been their talisman all season, was out for that game. He may be back for this encounter with West Ham, possibly. But yes, West Ham have been very inconsistent all season, both home and away. And Bournemouth have definitely been punching above their weight this season. So I'm not going to disagree with that call. I'm going to back Bournemouth for a win over West Ham as well. Then we have Brentford versus Chelsea. This is a London derby. Brentford at home versus Chelsea. Chelsea coming off a win over Spurs, another London team today. And of course, Brentford coming off a loss versus Newcastle in their last outing. How are you seeing this game? Brentford at home
I
versus
think
Chelsea.
Brentford will probably win that one. Chelsea, they did get that win over Tottenham, but I don't think they looked impressive. Um, Chelsea just don't look dangerous without Cole Palmer, and when he is in the team of late, teams do target him and keep him out of the game, and they just can't get anything.
But
So I
again,
think
well, I
Brentford.
mean, that is the fundamental question. Can you stop Cole Palmer? That question was asked versus Spurs, and the answer was no. It was Cole Palmer who made a sublime pass to pick out Enzo, who
Yeah, but
converted. So in that
it's
game, Palmer
in
came
that
up with
game.
the assist.
Yeah, but in that game, it's not like other teams who were, in my opinion, targeting him.
Mm.
It, it, it seems like Tottenham were just playing their game, are just trying to
So
play their game.
you would expect Thomas Frank to target
I
Cole Palmer then.
yeah yeah I think Thomas Frank is going to say, hey, this is how you stop Chelsea, and it's obvious. Like not doing it at this point is telling me that you're stupid, right? It's not
Interesting
doing
times
it,
ahead then.
not doing not. You've seen that Chelsea can't win without Cole Palmer, and you've seen teams keep him out of games, and Chelsea have lost and struggled in those games. Not doing it tells me that you're dumb. Nothing else.
So
That
you're
that that
calling
is
a
all it
Brentford
is.
win in this encounter.
As long as Brentford keep Cole
What
Palmer
what
out of
what's
the
the
game,
scoreline?
I think Brentford win 2-1.
2-1 to Brentford. 2-1 to Brentford. Then we also have Fulham versus Liverpool. Fulham versus Liverpool. What says you?
I think that could potentially be a more difficult game, but I think Liverpool have enough to get it over Fulham. I think Liverpool probably win again, probably 2-0, 2-1.
2-0, 2-1. Yeah, as you said, this should be a very interesting game in all honesty. Liverpool, to me, haven't really been playing sublime football, and they were able to bounce back from back-to-back defeats, you could say, which got them out of the Carabao Cup final and also eliminated them from the Champions League. Winning that Merseyside derby should bring back a bit more confidence in the team. Will it be enough to overcome Fulham? That's an interesting question. I would have to lean on the side of a Liverpool win as well. Just man for man, they should be able to get the better of Fulham. So, Liverpool to win I would say 2 goals to 1. I think this would be a tight encounter. Liverpool possibly probably have to come from behind if Fulham were to get the lead as well. So I'm gonna go Liverpool to win 2 goals to 1. Then we have Tottenham versus Southampton. Tottenham at home versus Southampton.
Uh, I tell you what, if Tottenham can't win this game, then you probably need to. Somebody probably needs to get sacked, to be honest, if this is not a game that they can pick up 3 points from.
So Tottenham to win then.
Tottenham to win 3-0.
Tottenham to win 3-0. And then the final game of the game week comes to us on Monday. This one is Leicester City versus Newcastle. Leicester at home versus Newcastle. What's your
Newcastle.
scoreline?
Newcastle 2-0.
Oh, Newcastle 2-0. Definitely an interesting week of football coming up. Teams will be looking to bounce back and make their mark. But any final thoughts, Christoph, as we quickly wrap up the podcast? Any final thoughts as it relates to these upcoming set of fixtures?
Some potentially interesting fixtures there, and it looks to be some good football on the weekend, to be honest. Specifically Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest. Um, I feel like Manchester City, Man United has the potential to entertain as well.
Definitely some interesting games coming up, especially for those teams in the top four are fighting it out in the upper levels of the table. Liverpool, Fulham could be a potential banana peel, and of course, Arsenal will be hoping to take advantage of that in case there are any slips. But first, have to take care of business in front of them. That business being Everton. So, interesting games to watch at both ends of the table, Christoph, as well as in that mid-table also. So it should be an entertaining weekend of football action. And we have to soak up all this football because the games are coming thick and fast. The season is quickly boiling down. There are 9 or 8 games left in the season and it is all to play for. You have to definitely put everything into these last 8 games in order to achieve your objectives come end of season. But Christoph, that's all the time we have. Viewers and subscribers, thank you again for tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. Please continue to support us by sharing, by liking, by leaving a comment. And of course, if you haven't subscribed as yet, hit that subscription bell. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.